Welcome, everyone. It's Karen Russo, and I'm so excited that we have an opportunity to be with Yakov Smart today. This is how to get your high paying clients by activating connect and profit effect. And I'm so grateful that for the people in our community who have a contribution to make, a difference you want to make money doing it, and you want to be able to collaborate and share and network without all the kind of yucky feeling of throwing things out there and seeing what happens. I am so excited to share with you what Yakov has to say to us. So I'm so glad you're here. Welcome.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And for those of you that don't know Yakov Smart, he's the founder of Connect and Profit, a leading authority on attracting high paying clients. And he has strategies, collaboration, a system called the Connect and Profit system. He grew his own consulting and online business to multiple six figures, and he is now a trusted advisor, a thought leader, an expert on helping entrepreneurs and sales leaders across a variety of industries. And for our community, the folks that are coaches, healers, experts, service providers, that's his sweet spot of really being able to help. He has shared stages with Samantha DiBianchi of Bravo's Million Dollar Listing. And what's fun is he lives also here in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I have taken his webinar, seen some of the on demand training pieces, and I'm really excited about some of the gems he has to share with you. So let's start with this. The pain that I sense some of my folks are in is this marketing overwhelm. So,
Yeah.
what is that, and why is it so important for people to overcome it?
Well, it's this feeling of stress because a lot of the people listening to this are people who love doing what they do, especially coaches, healers. They love coaching, they love healing, they love working with clients. What they don't like, and some of them may admit it, some of them may secretly know it, is they don't like marketing. They don't, as a matter of fact, some people hate marketing. Think of all the things you've been told or you've heard that you maybe should be doing to get clients. You should be posting on social media. You should be running ads. You should be sending direct messages. You should be a guest on podcasts. You should have your own podcast. Like all this stuff that just, talking about it feels overwhelming. You should be creating blogs. You should be doing SEO. And like people should themselves around marketing and they don't get results. And often what happens is a lot of time and money gets wasted and it doesn't produce those results. I mean, you don't like marketing in the first place, right? So that's the feeling of marketing overwhelm. And that stress bleeds into a few different areas, right? That stress bleeds into our personal lives because if we're doing stuff that we hate doing, we're usually not the best people to be around. And stress also bleeds into the work that you do with potential clients, right? Because if you're working with people and you're constantly scrambling to find clients or you're only relying on word of mouth, you're not going to be in your power. You're not going to be in your authority when you work with people. So that stress bleeds over as well. So, when we talk about alleviating marketing stress and alleviating marketing overwhelm, I found the best way to do it is to do marketing without marketing. And that's what activating the connect and profit effect is really all about.
Yeah. You know what? Also, the pain for many of the folks in our community is going to be the pain of like blaming myself for not being visible. Like you get this story of like I must be ambivalent about playing big because I don't want to just do random Facebook Live videos all the time. So it must be something wrong with me. When I think you're going to help us to see it, it's a shift of the strategy
Yeah.
to be more effective. So tell us a little bit about what led you to discover Connect and Profit and a little bit about just the strategy and the philosophy of what that is.
Absolutely. So you don't need to be posting 5 times a day, right? I know there is a lot of talk, oh, you just post more, you do more stuff. And it's like, well, that creates a bunch of hard work and a bunch of, work, but it's not smart work. If it doesn't get results, there is you don't get a gold star for doing a lot of work in business, right? That's not how we measure results. So my experience was also very similar. I started at my business about 5 years ago, and it was focused on, back then, on LinkedIn marketing and LinkedIn lead generation. And I very quickly discovered, because I was willing to put in the work, man. And I was someone, I actually liked marketing, but I was willing to do whatever it took. I would do the Facebook Lives, had a Facebook group, I would do a bunch of different things and kind of run around like a chicken with my head cut off. And, I would get overwhelmed, and my money wasn't that great either. So I was like, something's got to give. And then the breakthrough came in flipping the switch. And rather than, doing all the marketing myself, doing all the lead generation myself, because there just weren't enough hours in the day, I constantly felt that way. I realized that, there were other people, we call them connectors or influencers, who already have trust and already have access to the clients that I want to work with, to my audience, right? So rather than focusing on doing the marketing myself, I focused on building those relationships. And by building those relationships, I don't mean just networking and having a bunch of virtual coffees that go nowhere, because that also would piss me off, and people don't want to do that, right? So we'll talk about how to avoid that as well. But I started to pinpoint who those connectors were, and through a value exchange and building those relationships, was able to reach my best potential clients without having to convince them that I knew what I was talking about, without having to do a bunch of Facebook Lives or any of this other BS you hear about, and have more potential clients coming to me who are very much pre-sold on working with me, right? And give you one example right out of the gate here. One of the most pleasant experiences I've ever had with an in-person event, it was at the Marin Country Club. This was about 2-3 years ago at this point. And we had identified a gentleman. He was the leader of a local association for real estate investors. And, using one of the connect and profit strategies, we got his attention. He and I connected, and we decided to do an event together. And he had the email list. He had the database of great potential clients. He even had a venue for the event. He took care of all the logistics. He and I, did all the promotional stuff together. But basically, I just showed up, shared a little bit of content. People paid to be at the event. And then same thing, showed up to the event, shared a little bit of content, had an offer on the back end. And for both of us, we were doing a revenue split. In that instance, for both of us, that was more than $10,000 in additional revenue, and probably a lot more on the back end as well. And the great thing is, I didn't have to go and generate all those leads from scratch. I didn't have to do a bunch of Facebook Lives. And I got a nice time in wine country. I had a great weekend relaxing, drinking wine. So, the possibilities, it always amazes me at, how many potential clients are out there for us, how many people there are for us to work with, right? Who would be a good fit and who can afford to pay you what you're worth. And the ultimate kind of hack to doing all this is finding the people who have your people and leveraging this resource called OPP. And if you allocate your quote unquote marketing bandwidth to just doing that, you're going to have more clients than you know what to do with. And you don't have to do all the posting. You don't even have to run ads or, do any of the marketing that maybe you've heard you should be doing.
Yeah. So for folks who don't know, OPP is other people's people. So in investing, and you'll hear a phrase OPM, other people's money. So you might have a great real estate deal and you get 5 friends to buy in. That's using other people's money to make the purchase. Other people's people means accessing communities and client opportunities, just like you described. And what I want to really have our folks hear is the value exchange. So I don't know how many times I've gotten messages on LinkedIn that says, I'd love to pick your brain. Can we have a virtual coffee? And I'm like, there is nothing in that that makes me feel like I want to do that.
Yeah.
And what you teach is how to do the strategizing that is in high integrity. When you do an outreach to a potential collaborator, you're really focused on what would be valuable to that person, how to make the outreach relatable and tailored, and how to come from a place of genuine collaboration and sharing, so that you're going to be able to create. You don't need 1,000 of those relationships if you know which are the ones to pursue. So give us a little bit of what are the kinds of things that make that kind of collaborative value exchange approach really work?
Yeah, so one thing that sometimes people make the mistake of thinking is, well, if they don't have an email list, or maybe they haven't been in business for a while, saying, well, what can I do to reciprocate, right? They get that picking or having it be one-sided isn't cool, but they're like, how do I actually get the person to trust me? And the psychology behind these connected relationships really comes down to the people that have your people. Yeah, they're probably getting pitched all the time. And that's, one of the first kind of myths about it is, oh, this person has a large database or is well known. They're getting great offers all the time. Probably not. They're getting some terrible offers. They're getting some very mediocre quote unquote pitches, but it's funny because when you start to differentiate yourself, you can instantly get people's attention. And that comes down to how you position yourself online. That also comes down to your messaging. So when we talk about delivering value, there's so many ways to do that for someone who's a connector. I'll give you a few of the biggest ones, right? So one that obviously comes to mind is money, right? So most of you have heard about joint ventures or having affiliates where, hey, they put you in front of their audience, you sell something and they get a commission or a kickback. And that's a very kind of a trite way to do it. It applies in some cases. In some cases, it's absolutely necessary, but that's just one way of giving value. And a lot of the people that you want to connect with, a lot of your connectors who have access to your best potential clients, money is not their number one motivator for this, right? They're probably already making good money. There's other ways for them to monetize the audience that they have. But some other ways that are very unique is, first of all, making them look good. Okay. They want to look good. They want to give value. Okay. And if you're not able to do that, if you can't articulate how you may be able to do that, then there's plenty of other people who stuff they can promote and probably make more money, right? So you've got to think about what's in it for them, right? So what's going to make them look good. Also, if you've got something that solves a challenge that their people may have, right? That's a big one as well. As long as it's not competitive, if it solves a challenge, hey, that's better for them because then their people will do more business with them as well, right? And they get to be a hero to that audience and provide even more value. So those are a couple of things. And, I want to make the distinction too between, using activate and connect and profit versus idly networking. So let's say, let's say you're a life coach, right? I'll just use kind of a vague example. And that wellness coaches, let's say, have your people, right? I'm just going to use a simplistic kind of example. Well, going and having a bunch of virtual coffees or Zoom meetings with these folks is going to be a waste of your time, right? Because usually most people in that space probably aren't ideal connectors for you, right? Maybe they have clients, but they're not your ideal clients. So it's using tools like LinkedIn, using other tools to identify people who actually have some of those systems in place already, okay, where there's going to be an opportunity for you. So that's the first thing. And then rather than saying, hey, let's just talk and see what happens, that's sketchy, right? It seems like it's a potential waste of time because they don't want to be in an awkward call where you're just asking them a bunch of questions, picking your brain and trying to get something. You want to articulate it in advance what the conversation is going to be about, okay? What's in it for them, what the value is, right? That it's going to be well worth their while, well worth their time to explore, and always give people that next step. And then the final thing, and this is where a lot of people really drop the ball, is they'll say, okay, I've had a few conversations with people who I know probably work with people who would be my ideal clients. But what happened was, and this is going to sound familiar to some folks, they're going to say, well, if I hear about anyone, I'll send them your way. And of course, they never do. And it's not that they're lying. It's not that they're bad people. It's just that they get busy. They've got other stuff to think about that's on their plate already. So you've got to have a conversion mechanism. You've got to have a vehicle, and you've got to have a turnkey process that they can plug into, right? Where, don't make them do more work to put you in front of their people, right? Make it super, super easy. And when you do that, and when we talk about activating the connect and profit effect, the big picture that I want people to really think about and imagine right now is, what if every month you just built one new connector relationship, right? And that put you in front of your best potential clients, that created leads and opportunities for you. And when you really do this well, you can set up these recurring kind of streams of clients coming to you where, let's say over the next 12 months, you got one solid connector relationship each month. And then those become recurring, or maybe every quarter they're putting you in front of their people. Okay. Now you're going to have your lead gen handled without having to do marketing, right? It's like, taking referrals and putting them on steroids. But, one of the big things is the messaging and the strategy behind it is what a lot of people miss. And of course, that's got nuances in every type of business and with every type of individual.
Yes. Well, in a moment, I'm going to ask you, what's the mechanism for those that want more? And the pieces I really want our folks to hear is that some of what makes just the random marketing feel awful is it does feel cold because you're posting something and it lands, even if you've targeted the ad or whatever, it lands with an audience where you're not sure they're ready to hear it. Whereas with what Yakov is helping people to do is when you identify potential collaborators through the research that you do, you're warming up the outreach by your research, your caring, your thought, so that your outreaches aren't cold. They're already warm. And there's a level of strategy and responsibility and care that you can put in that makes it not feel cold. And for my folks, I know that's really important. What I also appreciate is that in this training is that you get specific examples, and it's good for us to hear about real estate or financial or legal or other service businesses because it makes the folks who are coaches and healers think more broadly. So tell us about what the next steps for staying connected to you and learning more would be.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different options for folks. So for folks that want to go more and see a training, we've put together a free online training, connectandprofit.co/training. Okay. And they can go and find out more and they'll see some more examples and I'll be sharing my screen and it'll be a good time. I keep the trainings entertaining as well because I don't believe in boring people to death on an online training. So that's really good stuff. It's free. They can check out that link and find out more. And for those of you who are listening, you're like, okay, this makes sense. I know I'm not going to figure it out on my own. Would love to see how you can work with me on this or, what kind of other guidance is available. Of course, I do this as a business. You can go to connectandprofit.co/apply and apply for your free discovery call where we'll dial in specifically what next steps might make sense for you, identify any obstacles standing in your way, and start to lay out what that step-by-step game plan is going to look like for you. So for those folks who are loving this stuff and want to go further right away, it's connectandprofit.co/apply.
Terrific. Well, I so appreciate the chance for us to be together. It's been really good for me personally to start to feel empowered around a more collaborative and strategic approach. And I just think this is a gem for the people in our community. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.